2 a.m. You're wide awake. You've been staring at the ceiling for an hour, and your brain has somehow decided this is the perfect time to replay every awkward thing you've said in the last 3 years. You're not anxious about anything specific. You're just awake in the dark when you're not supposed to be. And the more you think about the fact that you're awake, the more awake you become. Here's something nobody tells you. That feeling is 300,000 years old. Ancient humans were lying awake in the dark too. Same racing thoughts, same frustration, same staring at nothing. The difference is what happened next, because they didn't have our solutions. There was no melatonin on the nightstand and no sleep tracking app telling them how bad last night was. But they weren't helpless either.
What they did instead is stranger, more fascinating, and more relevant to your 2:00 a.m. ceiling situation than you'd expect. Before we get to what ancient humans did when they couldn't sleep, we need to talk about where they slept, because the physical reality of ancient sleep is so different from yours that it changes everything that follows. You sleep alone or with one other person in a room designed specifically for sleeping on a surface engineered for comfort at a temperature you control. Ancient humans slept in groups, large ones, where everyone was together. Children, elders, hunters, the whole band pressed close in the dark. This wasn't a choice, it was survival. Outside the firelight, things wanted to eat you. Leopards, hyenas, wolves. They didn't come into the fire, but the fire went out eventually. And when it did, the circle of safety went with it. Someone had to stay awake. Groups slept in shifts specifically so that someone was always watching, always listening, always ready to wake everyone else. Sleep wasn't a private retreat. It was a communal, coordinated, semi-vigilant act. Before permanent shelters, sleeping surfaces were the ground, leaves, animal skins, or trees. Early human ancestors slept in trees the way chimpanzees still do, wedged into branches above predator level. When humans moved to the ground, they carried the instinct for light, easily interrupted sleep with them. Deep, uninterrupted solo sleep in a dark, silent room is a very recent invention, and our nervous systems were not built for it. The fire was everything. It was warmth, protection, and the difference between sleeping and dying. When it dimmed, people woke. When it was stoked back up, they settled again. The rhythm of sleep was tied directly to the rhythm of the fire. Keep that image in your head. We'll come back to it. Here's the part that should genuinely change how you think about your own nights. Ancient humans didn't sleep in one block. They never did. For the overwhelming majority of human history, sleep came in 2 separate phases with a wakeful window in the middle. Historians call it first sleep and second sleep, and it wasn't unusual or disordered. It was just sleep. In 2001, historian Roger Ekirch published research that had taken him 16 years to compile. He had found over 500 references to first and second sleep scattered across centuries of human record. Prayer books from the 1400s, medical texts, court records, personal diaries, letters, and passages in Homer's Odyssey. Across different countries, different centuries, and different languages, all describing the same thing. A first sleep of roughly 4 hours, a wakeful period of 1 to 2 hours, then a second sleep until dawn. That middle window even had a name. People called it the watch, and they didn't waste it lying there panicking. They used it. People visited neighbors, prayed, or interpreted their dreams while they were still fresh. A 16th century French physician wrote that the best time for couples to conceive children was during the watch because both partners would be rested from first sleep, but not yet pulled back under. Some people simply lay in the dark and thought quietly without an agenda. In 1992, psychiatrist Thomas Wehr at the National Institute of Mental Health wanted to test whether this pattern was still inside us. He took volunteers and removed all artificial light from their lives, giving them 14 hours of darkness per night for a month. Within weeks, every single participant naturally split into 2 sleep phases. Nobody told them to. They just did it as if the program had been running underneath the whole time, waiting for the light to get out of the way. Wehr measured their hormone levels during the watch, and what he found was remarkable. Participants showed significantly elevated prolactin, the same hormone that rises during deep meditation and after orgasm. They described feeling peaceful, still, and reflective, not groggy, not anxious, and in a state unlike normal waking or normal sleep. That state doesn't have a name in modern life because modern life never stops long enough to let it happen. Instead, we call it insomnia, check our phones, spike our cortisol, and wonder why we can't get back to sleep. But ancient humans weren't immune to genuine sleeplessness either, and what they did about it tells you a lot about how seriously they took the problem. The Egyptians used wild lettuce, Lactuca virosa, sometimes called lettuce opium, which produced a milky white sap that ancient Egyptians harvested and consumed specifically as a sedative. It was associated with Min, the god of fertility, appeared in medical papyri, and was taken seriously as a sleep remedy for thousands of years. It actually contains lactucarium, a compound with mild sedative properties. They didn't know the chemistry, but they knew it worked. The Greeks had their own approach, which was essentially wine but made into a ritual. Specific herbs were added, valerian or mandrake in more extreme cases, and the preparation and drinking of it was deliberate and ceremonial, designed as much to calm the mind through routine as to sedate the body through chemistry. The Greeks also believed sleep position mattered. Sleeping on your right side was considered more favorable, while your left side brought darker dreams. Romans prayed. Somnus was the god of sleep, and his son Morpheus was the god of dreams. And Romans who couldn't sleep made offerings and recited specific prayers before bed. This wasn't because they were superstitious in a simple way, but because they understood that sleep wasn't fully under their control, and the act of appealing to something larger than yourself had a calming effect on the nervous system that we now recognize as a real phenomenon. Ancient Chinese medicine prescribed precise herbal formulations for sleeplessness, utilizing combinations of plants including jujube seed, poria mushroom, and variations of what we now recognize as early valerian preparations. These weren't guesses, they were documented, refined over generations, and many are still used in traditional medicine today. Ancient humans didn't lie in the dark accepting sleeplessness. They threw everything they had at it: plants, ritual, prayer, and community. The specifics were different, but the impulse was identical to yours. Ancient humans didn't think of sleep as downtime. They thought of it as a portal. Dreams were not random noise your brain generated during maintenance. They were messages from the gods, from the dead, and from the future. This wasn't a fringe belief. It was universal. The Egyptians compiled dream interpretation manuals, the most famous being the Chester Beatty Dream Book dating to around 1350 BC, which cataloged hundreds of dream scenarios and their meanings. Dreaming of drowning meant one thing, while dreaming of your own face meant another. The manual was consulted the way you might consult a doctor. The Greeks built temples for it. The sanctuaries of Asclepius, the god of medicine, were places where the sick would travel specifically to sleep. The practice was called incubation. You would undergo rituals of purification, make offerings, and then sleep inside the temple, hoping to receive a healing dream directly from the god. Major incubation sites operated for centuries at Epidaurus, Kos, and Pergamon. Patients reported dreams in which Asclepius himself appeared and prescribed treatments. Priests then interpreted those dreams and recommended cures. This wasn't the fringe of Greek medicine. It was mainstream practice. Sleep was sacred, dreams were information, and the hours you spent unconscious were not empty. They were an active channel to something beyond ordinary waking life. We have completely stripped that meaning away. Sleep is now a performance metric, something you optimize, track, and score. You wake up and check how efficiently you slept, as if consciousness itself is a productivity problem to be solved. We have solved almost every practical problem ancient humans faced at night, and yet the 200 AM